It's out of sight.
Good morning and welcome to Alumni and Family Weekend at Providence College. Please take a moment to locate the nearest emergency exit. In the unlikely event of an issue that requires building evacuation, please follow the instructions of staff members and exit in an orderly manner. Now, please welcome this morning's MC, the Executive Vice President of Providence College Student Congress, Fiona Keola-Claude.
Hello. Sorry, I was on the wrong page. Good morning and welcome, family, friends, and alumni of Providence College. It is my pleasure to take a moment and share with you all today my brief PC transformational experience. As you are back on campus today, the transformation is incredibly beautiful and hard to miss. And as a freshman who came to PC when Huxley was still a popular street for traffic and the parking lot in front of Dorr Hall was where my parents would park their cars during their visit, it is clear to say PC has been through tremendous change. And it's even more exciting for me to take a step back and notice that just as my campus was transforming, so was my PC experience. So where do I begin? Well, let's begin with the truth. I didn't want to apply to PC at first. I didn't want to come to PC, which in retrospect is hilarious to me considering how highly involved I am now. And with students and with the Student Congress, it's something I didn't plan on. Anyways, PC was nowhere on my radar, and that's because 2 years before I could start to make my future college list, my brother had already deemed PC as the perfect fit for me. Now, I don't know about all of you, but there's this natural human intuition to want to do the exact opposite of what an older sibling or even your parents might tell you to do. So, because my older brother made the suggestion for me to come to PC, I wanted to stay as far away as possible from PC because I wanted my college decision to come solely from me. To have the privilege and opportunity to make a really big decision and to take an even bigger step into the next chapter of my life was so important. So who can blame me for wanting to make sure that that decision on where I'd be spending the next 4 years of my life wanted to come purely from my own interest and desires? Well, 4 years later, Providence College has been both one of the best experiences, yet hardest challenges of my 21 years of life, therefore making it one of my best life decisions yet. Yes, I know. I still have plenty of other chapters to go through, but I can't speak to those because they have yet to come. My chapter at PC, however, was one that started off unplanned, yet managed to shape me into the confident, silly, empowered, and grateful young woman standing before you today. In the beginning of this address, I told you I would start with the truth, and I guess it's only right that I end with the truth as well. My freshman year at PC was a shaking one, and that is only natural when starting a new life in a new environment on your own. But as many of you know, PC has a Friar family. And it is that Friar family that carried me through my freshman year, my sophomore year, my junior year, and even to this day. The same Friar family I started with is supporting me, and what's great about it now is that it's so much bigger and stronger than what it was 3 years ago. What makes me proud to say I attend PC is that this Friar family is something that still rings throughout this campus. And I will be realistic with you. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows on this campus, but that's expected. There is not one educational institution in this country that is perfect, but what makes PC different is that the students, the faculty, and the administrators don't settle for these imperfections. Every day, we constantly challenge the imperfections and work together to ensure that we are constantly growing and evolving as an institution to make sure that the PC experience for the next up-and-coming class is always a little bit better than ours, and that's the truth. There's about 4,000 undergrad students on this campus, and again, realistically speaking, not every single one of them is an intimate member of what I consider my Friar family. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I have found a new sister, a new best friend, who started off as my floor mate my freshman year and is now my senior year roommate. Or let's talk about the fact that I've gained new brothers who make me feel so safe and loved at my home away from home. And better yet, there's faculty and administrators who have become mentors, friends, and symbolic parents for me as well. PC has not only given me a new family, but a stellar education in the midst of the challenges that I've grown from, as well as memories that I will cherish for a lifetime, and more importantly, a support system that I will carry with me beyond my years. So as I have the chance to stand before alumni and friends of Providence College, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for paving the way and giving back to PC. It's because people like you that I was able to give PC a chance, like a real open heart, open mind, optimistic chance. And I promise you, it is in that special way that PC has become my new home. I would like to thank you once again for your time, and as always, go Friars. Now we have Father Dominic Werner, Assistant Chaplain, with an opening prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, you are the creator of all that is good, the source of every blessing. We give you thanks for this beautiful day. We give you thanks for our family and friends, our alumni, all who make our PC Friar family such a beautiful family. We give you thanks for the mission you have entrusted to us, the mission to form young men and women to discover their potential and realize their purpose, giving glory to you in all that they do. We give you thanks for all of these gifts, and we ask you to bless us, bless our time this weekend together, renew us in mind and spirit, and help us to celebrate all the gifts that you've given us with hope for all the good that is to come. We ask this in your most holy name. Amen.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Providence College's president, Father Brian Shanley. A Warwick native who graduated from PC in 1980, Father Shanley has been president since 2005, overseeing a period of extraordinary growth across the board, academic quality, diversity, buildings and infrastructure, and more. Please welcome Father Brian Shanley.
So I arrived at Providence College in 1976, and I still have some of my freshman year books. And I have a copy of the Odyssey, which I had to read in the Development of Western Civ course. And I took it off my shelf earlier this morning. It cost $2.95 in 1976. It's the Robert Fitzgerald translation. And the Odyssey begins with these words: "Sing in me, O Muse, and through me tell the story of that man skilled in all ways of contending." And that man is Odysseus. And everybody at PC has to read either the Iliad or the Odyssey still. I had to read both of them. The Iliad is a story about what war does to human beings. The Odyssey is a story about how you go back to home. And Odysseus has to go through every trouble you could possibly imagine to get home, in case you don't remember the story from your time at Providence College, or those of you who have been through your freshman year, you may not even remember it, because I know how much short-term memory is. But the key line in that beginning is skilled in all ways of contending, because life is about contending. You have to compete. It's a struggle. And you have to learn how to be successful in that. And this morning, we have our Olympian women here from 1998. And 1998 was the last time the U.S. women won the gold in hockey. And that tells you, because as good as we are, we haven't been able to win since 1998. And it's a testimony to what they did, that that achievement remains a rare achievement. And they will talk to you about what they learned about how to contend. And they didn't know that when they read the Odyssey in Civ, but they were actually preparing to contend. And that's part of what we want to do with our students, is teach them how to contend, how to strive, how to compete. Because in order to be successful in life, you do need to learn how to compete. And that's part of what we're trying to do with our students here at Providence College. And our Olympian women tell us that we are successful. And Fiona's success tells us that we are successful. We've built a lot of buildings on this campus in the time that I've been here. People come back and say the campus is not even really recognizable, but in many ways it is. The transformation of the campus in terms of infrastructure all has as its purpose the inner transformation of our students. That's the most important transformation at Providence College, is what happens inside of our students while they're here. The buildings don't matter if they didn't help our faculty and our administrators and our students have the kind of life-changing educational, transformational experiences that make them different. And you heard from Fiona, and you'll hear from our hockey-playing women, the kinds of transformations that they went through while they were here, that they took into the rest of their lives. And it's what we all do. It's what I did. I remember my freshman self reading the Odyssey. That's part of who I am now as I do what I do now. And that is the heart of what Providence College does. And those of you who are alumni, those of you who are parents, those of you who are students, it's the work of Providence College, is the inner transformation. As wonderful as all the outside transformation is, it's the inside transformation that is the most important work of Providence College. And it's God's work, which is why we began with a prayer today. It's the work that God entrusts us to here. And it's what we celebrate this weekend. So we hope that this weekend is a weekend of joy for you. And as Fiona mentioned, we're a family. We're an imperfect family like every family that I know, including my own. We struggle. But what gives us the grace and the courage to engage in that work of inner transformation is the encouragement and love that comes from being in a family. Families' jobs are to help everybody grow into who they're supposed to be. And in the imperfect ways in which families do that, we do it here at Providence College. And this weekend is a celebration of that experience and of that charge. So I welcome you back. I hope this is a great weekend for you. There's all sorts of games going on this weekend. From last night, we got lacrosse, we got women's hoops, we got women's hockey, we got men's basketball. All that stuff goes on to remind us of the continuing challenge in our own lives of becoming our better selves and becoming who God created us to be. So I invite you to enjoy the weekend, enjoy the contests that you see, and we ask God's blessing on the continuing growth that is the work of Providence College to become everything that God made us to be. Thank you and enjoy the weekend.
And now, please welcome Friar women's hockey coach Bob Deraney and 1998 Olympic gold medalist Sarah DaCosta Hayes, class of 2000, Mickey Mosession, class of 1994, and Lisa Brown Miller, class of 1988.
Well, welcome, ladies. It's great to have you all here. I think it's really fitting that as the opening ceremonies last night for the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea, that we celebrate what you accomplished 20 years ago, which still hasn't been done, as Father Shanley so eloquently alluded to, the gold medal in '98. Unfortunately, four of Lisa, Vicky, and Sarah's teammates couldn't be with us tonight. Chris Bailey actually got sick this morning. She got the stomach bug from her children, which parents understand how that can happen. Laurie Baker will be with us tonight, but had a previous engagement, as well as Alana Blahoski, who will also be with us tonight. And I think to start off today's panel discussion, I think we'll turn our attention to the screens as Cammy Granato will kick off today's discussion.
It's such an exciting time. It's so fun to watch the opening ceremonies and remember what that felt like, and watch some of the games and know what that felt like, and just really understand what goes on behind the scenes in the village. And I don't know, every time there's Olympics, I get super emotional and just so excited for the athletes that are there. And reflecting back now that it's been 20 years, first of all, I can't believe it. It makes me feel incredibly old, but it's been 20 years, and no one else has done it. No other U.S. women's team has done it so far, and I think that to me is the most remarkable thing, because we've been right there every time. And I think this year the girls are ripe to win. I really have a strong feeling that this might be the year. As far as looking back on what we accomplished, I think the biggest thing was, you know, at the time, we were the underdogs, and we just pulled together as a team like never before, and we're completely selfless and totally in the moment, and everything was just perfect. It all went perfectly for us. And we came out on top, and it was just incredible. And now that it's been 20 years, I think, you know, a lot of people were saying you guys are the pioneers at the time, and I don't think, for me, it ever set in until the years kept passing. And now looking back at, you know, us doing it 20 years ago, being the first team, you know, women's hockey in the Olympics for the first time, and now having kids, I realize, it really was, we really were the pioneers, and it's really cool to say that. and it's a bond that we'll have forever. Again, enjoy your day, and I miss you guys a lot, teammates, and yeah, go PC and go USA.
Before we begin the discussion, I just want to kind of put in a little context about Providence College's place on the landscape of women's hockey. As Cammie kind of alluded to, in 1998, that was the first time that women's hockey was a sport in the Olympic Games. And a roster of that size back then was 20 players. And we had 7 players on that team. Almost over a third of that team was from Providence College, and his father talked about when you graduate from Providence College, you go out and compete and contend. Well, you couldn't ask for better competition and role models and successful women in the workplace than the 3 people that we're going to have an opportunity to talk with today. So it's really great to have you all with us. As being the women's hockey coach, I've always said I've been privileged to be the head hockey coach here at Providence College, and that's because of the people like yourselves and all the people who have come before that give me such a... I have a big responsibility, a very big responsibility to live up what they expect. So with that being said, I'd like to kick off with Lisa. Cammie kind of alluded to being pioneers and trailblazers, and back then there weren't a lot of opportunities for women's hockey players or ways to develop. Could you kind of share with us a little bit of what it was like to be a women's hockey player back in the late 80s, early 90s?
Sure, and I'm going to go back even a little further than that because for myself, I grew up in Michigan and the Detroit area, and as I was playing hockey, I didn't know of any other girls who played. So I played on boys hockey teams until I was probably about 13 or 14. And then I asked my dad to maybe seek out if there were girls' teams, because I'd heard maybe there were. And he did find a handful of teams, and so that was my first exposure to playing women's or girls' hockey. And then I'd heard there were some colleges that had women's hockey. So being out in Michigan, and this was the time before social media or even email, I mean, it was snail mail, and I made my dad bring the huge video recorder to the rink so that we could send these huge tapes off to college coaches in hopes to have the opportunity to go play college hockey. And so once I had narrowed my choices down and had decided to come to Providence College, I had no idea if I was even going to be able to play on the team because I didn't know who my teammates were going to be. I had no idea the skill level of these East Coast women hockey players who I heard were just awesome. So I was all prepared to play on the 4th line and happy to get some playing time when I did. So I didn't know what I was stepping into. And so no, there weren't a lot of opportunities for me back at home. And then making that transition to PC, the door opened a little wider. And then as I graduated from Providence, there still wasn't even a women's national team yet. So I thought I was done in 1988. And then another door opened. So I happened to be one of those fortunate players who, just as doors were opening, I was able to step through. I have some teammates who were on the other side, and they were just a step shy of getting through that door. So I feel very fortunate, the position I was in, to actually make this Olympic team.
With that being said, it's a pretty good segue into the Rhode Island Sting program. So why don't you pick up on that, where you and Vicki have actually created a girls program here in Rhode Island called the Rhode Island Sting that give young girls an opportunity at a very young level which to play together and to develop and chase that dream.
Right, yeah. Obviously, we're all very passionate about hockey. And when it was time for me to kind of go to the next stage of my life, I couldn't imagine doing something without having hockey in my life. And I got right into coaching, and a few years later, I had my daughter, Kylie, and Vicki has 3 girls. And I received a phone call one day from Vicki saying, you know, we have daughters. There's not many opportunities for girls in Rhode Island to play with girls. I grew up playing with the boys. The first time I ever played on a girls' team was actually Providence College. So, you know, our girls, we wanted to give them an opportunity to experience women's hockey and to play with all girls. So Vicki called me, what do you think? Let's do this here in Rhode Island. And it's been an amazing experience to see the growth of women's hockey from the 1998 Olympics to now, and to see the current women's hockey team. And we're very fortunate, and I don't know how much the girls know that this is our home base, actually, right? Providence College. We skate here every day. So we get the opportunity to see the current women's team. And it is amazing to me to see you girls, to see you guys play now, the skills that they have and the talent and the role models that our Rhode Island Sting girls have to see every day it's been an amazing experience to be there with our daughters and to be able to teach them the sport that we love and to be able to do it with one of my teammates and one of my best friends has been a great journey.
What made you think of that idea, Vicki?
What makes me think of a lot of things, I'm not really sure. First, thank you to the college for inviting us back. It's wonderful to see my teammates. We haven't seen each other in a while. But to be remembered, because we remember our time here, is really amazing. So I played in '98 and had some concussions after that point, so I retired, as did Brownie and a few of our other teammates. And I didn't really know what to do with hockey. I love being involved with the team. I had volunteered here a little bit. I had coached a little bit at Northeastern previously, but really wanted to try and make a difference. And my experience may be a little bit different. There's 10,000 girls playing in Massachusetts, youth hockey. So growing up in Massachusetts, I had tons of opportunities to play boys hockey and girls hockey at a young age. And that was so fun for me. So 16 years ago, I started a program in Massachusetts as a way to give back and create something for young girls to have fun and not worry about college, prep school, scholarships, because we played at a time where that didn't really exist, or, sorry, Sarah. Sarah did play at a time, but our generation on this side.
Scoot over.
Scoot. We didn't have scholarships, so I wanted to create an environment where a kid could be a good athlete, strive, and play without the vision of it going anywhere other than team. So Rhode Island didn't have that cohesive youth girls hockey program, and I wasn't going it alone like I had in Massachusetts. So my call to Sarah, although it was a recommendation, it was a very strong recommendation to say, hey, let's do this for our kids and for those around them, because if we can make a difference and bring something positive to them, it's better than living with what it could have become if we hadn't.
Okay. And leading off of that, going back to the Olympics, in Providence College, and one of the things that we talk about is when you graduate from Providence College, you can change the world, and obviously you guys are changing the world by influencing these young people and having wonderful role models. I will say this personally, I coached men's hockey for 9 years, and then 19 years ago I switched to women's hockey, and I switched to women's hockey because I had 2 daughters, and I couldn't think of a better environment for my daughters to be brought up in, not just in a Providence College athletic environment, but to have wonderful role models. And I can tell you, when I look at my 2 kids, I see a little bit of all of my former players in my children. And so when you talk about what you're doing, there's no question that you are influencing the world by the program, the Rhode Island Sting, and obviously the Spitfire program. So I want to say thank you, because that's what Providence College mission is to change the world, and here's a perfect example of how we're doing it one child at a time. Turn to sports. Sarah, you had a tremendous career here. Can you tell me how that helped you in your Olympic quest to make the team and then at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, well, like I said before, I grew up playing with all boys, and kind of like Lisa, I really wasn't aware of what the women's hockey world was at the time. And I probably junior high school, when I realized, like, right here in my home state, Providence College has one of the best programs in the country. And not only one of the best programs in the country, there was legends, girls that were on the national team, and someone like Brownie at the time, you were competing, living your dream. So that's when I decided, that's where I want to be. I want to go to Providence College. So, and it actually, when I was getting ready, junior, senior, one of my teammates who are not here, Chris Bailey, she was actually the one who came to my house to recruit me to come here. And I didn't realize at the time, a few years later, I would be competing with her in the Olympics. So it was pretty neat to have her But it was the best decision I ever made to come here to Providence College for many reasons. I mean, to play on the hockey team, the academics. But when I got here, it was everything I dreamt it would be. As Father Shanley pointed out, I didn't realize at the time that even Western Civ was preparing me for my life and competing in the college, in the Olympics. So academically, the faculty, the staff, everyone, my teammates, my roommates, everyone contributed to me preparing myself for competing in the Olympics and representing my country. Hockey, I had never had a goalie coach. It was the first time I ever had a goalie coach, and Coach Belmore really had his work cut out for me. I think my first college career game, it was the very first shot. I think they shot the puck from the red line, and it actually went in. So I think he just kind of looked at me like, oh boy, what do we do here? So I had a lot to learn, and the coaching staff and my teammates really taught me so much. And anyone that knows Coach Duraney, he has more passion for what he does than anyone I have ever met. So that rubs off on you, and the way that you teach how important character is, that's all stuff that you need to become an Olympian, and that carried over. So every aspect of Providence College prepared me for the Olympic Games.
And I saw both of you shake your heads, so I'm going to move it on to you guys to share how your Providence College experience shaped you for what you were about ready to experience on the Olympic stage.
Well, I was just, as you were referring to Bob and his passion as a coach, I did not have Bob as a coach. I had John Marchetti, and so some of you may be aware of that name. And that man loved this team. I mean, he did everything. So he created that sense of family, like Father Shanley was saying, that sense of family within the hockey team. So coming from Michigan, I didn't know a single soul on this campus when I first got here. And my team immediately became my family. And Coach Marchetti made sure that I felt welcomed, I felt a part of a group, I felt loved. He did everything. He sharpened our skates. After practice was done, we'd all throw our laundry into a hockey bag, and he'd throw it on the back of his car, and he'd drive it up here, and he would do the laundry for us. I don't know if you remember, but you'd go to put your hockey skate on, you're like, oh, what is in my hockey skate? You reach in there and you pull out a little piece of candy. So it was like his little way of saying, like, hey, I'm here, I care about you. This is a hockey team, but it's also a family. So yes, the passion that our coaches put into the program and the school puts into their student athletes or their students who aren't athletes doing other things, like you, Sarah, it was one of the best decisions of my life.
Thank you, Lisa. Vicki?
I also had Coach Marchetti, so we didn't get candy. Thanks. Scoot, 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 scoot. It was an incredible experience coming here. The history of PC women's hockey had already been built prior to me looking here. I entered school in 1990. We had players like Lisa, Kelly O'Leary, Cindy Curley, Karen Kay. Those are the trailblazers for me as a youngster looking at schools. When we were juniors and seniors, we had the opportunity to come and play the colleges. And PC fit, and I think you'll find 7 of us that went here at PC have like a common fabric among our character and personalities, and even former teammates that are here today. It's that common bond of, a Catholic school education, belief in something bigger, striving through troubled times. Because women's hockey, in our era, we were the Lady Friars. We weren't allowed to use the logo at the time. And then it transformed to Providence. So we were joking about it last night. We're the girls from that city. And the identity of what women's hockey became was transformed here at PC. So the opportunities for the kids here and what it prepared us in that common fabric. Coach Marchetti, like Lisa said, took care of everything for all of us. He bought pizza for us, he did our laundry, he made sure we had winter hats on, running to the cafeteria so our hair didn't freeze in the winter. we knew he cared, and we cared about each other. And he didn't push us too hard on the ice. We actually wanted to push harder than what he pushed us. So we kind of band together, and we would do aerobics class here extra, and work out extra, because we wanted to be better together. So in preparing us academically as well, I think because I wasn't a scholarship athlete, it puts you in a different mindset. I had loans. I had to do well academically because we didn't know about the Olympic Games. 1990 World Championships was the first time women competed, and that was the beginning of it. So we weren't playing for that reason. We were playing because we loved it. We were here to get a great education, and after that time, we were here to work. So the education provided us that, and the experience and the commonality among us, 7 of us, but we weren't all at school together. So Sarah entered college after I had left. I entered college, but Lisa had already left. And I played with Chris Bailey and Alana, but there weren't all 7 of us here. And that just goes to show the championship environment that PC built.
For sure. Lisa, I guess let's talk about the selection process and going through that and making the Olympic team. And obviously, we're talking about some stressful times. Yeah. Do you mind sharing, a little insight into that, and then all this, what's the U.S. Olympic team over there doing right now? What are they feeling? How are they preparing? So let's take one at a time. The first thing was going through the Olympic process and selection process.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly say, although it was 20 years ago that we won, watching videos like that gives me goosebumps and brings tears to my eyes. It's like you can step right back into that moment with just a 30-second clip. And yeah, thinking I had, every 4 years when the Olympics come up, it kind of, all these memories resurface. And I knew, like getting married, they say, kind of slow down, try to take it all in. And I ended up taking a notebook and filling it with either thoughts or things that happened on my journey, because I knew I wasn't going to remember it all. So periodically, there have been times where I've read back through that and said, wow. And part of that was the process of picking the team. And it was highly stressful. So at the end, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there were 25 of us at the very end. So you're supposed to be a team, but at the same time, you're an individual competing for a spot on the team. So it was very, very challenging from a mental standpoint, like on your own self, and then to actually go out and then play when it was your time to play, because our coach would periodically sit 5 different players, and you didn't know why you were sitting. Were you sitting because maybe you had a bad game and you shouldn't play, or because you had a good game and he's given somebody else a chance? Like, you started going through these questions in your head, and so that in and of itself was daunting, to go through that last leg of the journey in the selection of the team. I like to equate it to like a chemist. So there was no doubt that probably even the top 30 players could have easily played on that team. It came down to just picking the right combination of people to have on that team. So that's where I kind of say Coach Smith was a genius in that matter, because we ended up winning. The day that the team was picked was highly stressful. We had all gone into this it felt like a very small room. I think it was pretty darn small.
It was small.
And we were, all 25 of us were in this room, and Coach Smith decided he was going to read off the names of the player who made the team. And being a hyphenated name, Brown Miller, I wasn't sure where I was going to fall on the list, so I was really, really anxious. And thankfully, it did come it came as Brown Miller rather than Miller. And I found that once I heard my name, there was a sense of like relief, but at the same time, I had this like focus of this like really narrow focus on listening to the other names and realizing the 5 names that weren't called. And although I was happy that I made the team, I had greater sadness for my teammates that didn't make the team. And one of those players was Kelly O'Leary, who I played 3 years here at Providence, and I thought she was a shoo-in.
Yeah.
So it was very, very difficult. I know that I was a bubble player because I was the oldest player competing for a spot. They had 5 centers, and there was this little whippersnapper, Jenny Schmigel, who was like 15 and who had played all of 2 years, and she was like a child prodigy hockey player. And I was just, she was my nemesis. I'm like, this little spark plug is gonna kick me off this team. And then Ben Smith, he kind of worked it through his head, and he had 5 centers and 5 right wings and 5 left wings. And what did he do? He like took all the centers and kind of shuffled things around. So I ended up making the team, thankfully, and then played left wing, a position I'd never played in my entire life, and probably didn't really have the best tournament, but I was thankful to just be a part of this team because it really came down to that whole chemistry. And by far the best team I've ever been on, the most selfless. I mean, it was the epitome of team. There was no one person who would make or break us. Everybody had a role to fill, and we did it. Everybody filled that role.
And as we're kind of bringing this to conclusion, I do have 2 last questions, which I'll leave to all of you. First of all, Cammie talked about it being perfect. And you talked about the chemistry alluding to it, and I'm just going to feel perfect. I'd like to hear a little bit about that as you went through the Olympic Games, and then what it was like to be arm in arm. There was no podium. And I can remember when they were placing the gold medals, watching on my TV at home and placing the gold medals over your heads and being arm in arm and singing the national anthem. So I'd like to just very quickly just walk us through your experience as a team and that perfection that Cammie and Lisa kind of alluded to, and then about that moment when you're singing the national anthem.
We were all different. So Lisa on the older end, and then Jenny and Angela on the younger end, 15 and 31. Socially, there's a big gap. Like Father Shanley said, life, it's a struggle, it's a challenge. You have to be competitive, and it's hard to find 20 people who can be competitive among each other, but maintain respect for each other as a teammate. And in life, that's kind of what we did at that moment. We were 20 people who wanted so badly to do well for each other and collectively win. There was a poem that we used to have to recite every time we got on the bus and off the bus. It's from the Jungle Book.
Yeah, the wolf.
And the gist of it is the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. And don't break it because you'll die. And that's in the poem. And that was our motto going through. We would do anything for each other, whether it be on the bench, in the village, while playing, or not playing, or getting picked. You never knew. Is it your turn to play? And if it is, you better do your best. Because we wanted to win for our country. It was so much bigger than any individual, and because it was the first time, no one had done it before. The business side of the Olympics or athletics, the professionalization of it, hadn't hit us. We didn't realize people were actually watching. The women's team and some of the students here, you'll think this is funny, IBM set up a Surf Shack with Yahoo email over at the Olympics for us to contact people at home. But most of us had never used email or had computers in college, so we just emailed each other. But and that's also the truth. But USA Hockey started filtering in, because they were aware of technology, we were not, filtering in commentary and emails from people around the world supporting us. And at that moment, we realized this is so much bigger than us, and our team was perfect.
To talk about Vicki and Lisa, I mean, you can't say more, and you can't really describe the bonds that the team had, and the journey that those 7 months that we lived together and went through the tryout process, and then hearing your name called, and for me, when I heard my name called, I think I had to ask the person next to me, because it was as if Coach was speaking in a different language. So did they call my name? Was that I was at DeCosta. So just that whole experience, and once we got to the Olympics, and as far as, Coach, you asked about what it felt like when we were getting the medals placed around our necks, and all I remember, complete chaos, celebrating. And then when we started hearing the anthem, I think our emotion, at that point in our journey, it was like, oh, it's done, like we did it. So everyone was, I just remember everyone going crazy, and then when you're on the blue line and you hear your anthem, I think we just all reached down and held on to each other tight. And a lot of people always ask me, like, what were you feeling? And the best way I can explain all the emotions that we were feeling is by describing what I saw when I looked in the stands. What I saw was our mothers huddled together crying. Our fathers were high-fiving each other, hooting and hollering. And literally, the siblings were being chased by security guards because they were climbing over the glass to get onto the ice. And a few of the siblings did make it over. I don't remember which ones, but the security guards trying to grab them. And it was just such an emotional time. And to be joined, you know, hand in hand with your teammates was really a moment that never forget and hard to really explain to people.
Oh. How about a big round of applause for these tremendous athletes?
Love you too.
And I speak for everybody in the room. You're not only just tremendous athletes, you're just tremendous ambassadors for Providence College. And we just marvel at what you accomplished 20 years ago. And it just shows you they need more Providence College people on the Olympic team if they want to win another gold medal. So congratulations again. Thank you all for coming this morning. Thank you, ladies, very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you. Just so everybody knows, tonight at 7:30 at Schneider Arena, we're turning it into an Olympic village, and all the Olympians will be there, and it should be a really fun time. It's free of charge, so hopefully some of you will find time to come over and visit with us. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a great party. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.